What's up? What's up? It's Rasheen Taylor. I'm back again. I don't know. I just wanted to give a little update. Well, not an update, but like just to come and talk to you guys a little bit more about me and who I am. um, when I was about to graduate high school, 2010, I was terrified. I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know what was next. That summer, I didn't have a job. My one and only job was at Panera Bread before I was a freshman, actually. So, worked that job, and I actually quit. It was funny. I just walked in one day and I was like, "I'm sorry, but today's gonna be my last day." And my manager was like, "Are you serious?" And I think I worked that day, and that was it for me. Like, I was done. I quickly regretted it because in high school I wanted to buy clothes, but it was a little further from where I lived, and I had to get a ride to work every day from my granddad, and I had to pay gas money, and it was a lot. So I just ended up letting it go. I was kind of happy I let it go, but then again, I still missed the money, even though it was like $180, $200 paychecks every 2 weeks. It was a little part-time job, but it was something, it was something, especially for a kid my age. But I went off to college and everything, and I actually went for chemical engineering. And I expect, I'm gonna get this degree, run it up. I just wanted a lot of money. I come from a poverty-stricken background. I lived in multiple homes, a lot of poverty-stricken areas, neighborhoods. I saw gang activity. Multiple friends have been killed. Lived in roach-infested buildings. Lived in the projects. Witnessed a lot of things a kid shouldn't witness and see, and even just from seeing those things early in life, I actually wrote about those things in my books, which are down in the description below, Against All Odds, part 1 and 2. But I just shared things about my life, things that I witnessed, just witnessing gang life to becoming almost like deeply involved in gang activity. But I took that and wrote about those experiences in my books. But one thing I learned living in those neighborhoods was that I never wanted to grow up and come back here. Like, that was like finally seeing, it's like I got to middle school and my eyes were like suddenly open to my environment and the things around me and the people and their characters. And I knew I did not want that for myself. I knew I didn't want that for my life. And so I resolved in my mind at an early age, I will not grow up and live in this area. I will not come back here if it was up to me. Like, if I have any say in the matter, if I have any control, I will not live in this area when I grow up. Just walking down the street and just seeing a homeless person stretched out on the bench like this, like just sleep. And it's broad daylight, it's sunny outside, cars are riding past, and this homeless person is just sleep right there in the sun, baggy clothes, dirty, hair messed up. I didn't want that for myself, because I looked at it as if I settle, if I get comfortable in this environment, that's going to be me in 10, 20 years laying on that park bench. And I didn't want that for myself. I saw so many people in the park sleep or sitting up against a tree just looking hopeless with despair and shame and pity in their eyes. And I knew I did not want that for myself. I always knew I wanted better. So I overcame all of that. Even watching my parents fight, just witnessing various bloody fights. I mean, seeing weapons involved and lying to the police for one parent over the other, and it was just an extremely chaotic childhood that I wouldn't wish on any child. But it helped to shape me to be who I never wanted to be. Well, I'll put it like this: it shaped me to be the man that I wanted to be, and it showed me who I didn't want to be. Yeah, that's what I want to say. It showed me who I didn't want to be, the types of people I didn't want in my life, and the examples of who not to become when I became an adult. And so that's how it's like I was able to take a step back, or like hover above my environment and look down at what I didn't want for myself. And so overcoming all of those things, that's why I say now anybody can overcome any situation. If I can come from that type of environment, that type of background, multiple houses roach infested, or seeing mice run across the floor, and just, to top that, the violence that was around me, I knew I did not want that for myself. And so I went to 13 schools before I graduated. Last school I got there, was there for 2 years. I was so shocked. I went to 3 schools in 4th grade, and like probably 2 schools per grade. Like after that, it was rare for me to go to the same school 2 years in a row. But my high school, I went to the same school, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. I made the most friends. I got involved in activities after school. That's when I was able to come out of my shell. And so I graduated high school, straight A's, 4.0. Went to college for chemical engineering, all because I looked up the various careers to take up that made the most money. Because my thinking was I never wanted to go back to who I was, how I used to live, and as an adult, I would make the most money possible that I could ever make in my life. And I knew I never wanted to go back there. And I knew one day if I was to have kids, if I was to have children, they would not live a life of poverty such as the one that I was subject to in my youth. And so that's just what it was. Like, I went to school for chemical engineering, quickly realized I was not interested in chemical engineering, and I received so many scholarships just my senior year of high school, up to $80,000 in scholarships from various schools. That it all totaled up to $80,000, and my picture was in the front of the school as one of the students with the most scholarship awarded, the most money in scholarships awarded. And I got to college and I was failing my first couple of months. I was placed on academic probation. I fell into a depression because I wasn't interested in chemical engineering. I was always terrible at math because I missed crucial parts of my math development in school because I was bounced around so much. I moved around so much, and I went to poverty schools, and they just basically passed you along without you mastering the material anyway. So I was always terrible at math. Got to college, terrible at math still, and I just got depressed. And then one day, I just broke down in my dorm room and was crying and crying and crying. I cried like a baby. And my roommate was right there, and he was asleep, but I just cried and I just broke. And then I could hear a voice that said, "I love you." And I was like, "What?" And it was like, "Rasheen, I love you." And I was like, okay. And it was the voice of God. And I never thought I could hear God. Like I would see on TV or somewhere, or go to church like when I was little, and people would be like, "Oh, God is saying this and that," but I ain't. You just take it for what it is. Like you just think people just talking to, set the atmosphere or whatever. But I heard God tell me He loved me, and that like sent shock waves through my body, and it was like an experience that I never felt before. Like that's a day that I will never forget in life. It was a day in April, the month of April of 2011. And basically God just came and met me in my dorm room in that moment. And I just basically just started praying and crying out to God. And then my mom called after I was done, and she apologized to me for everything in my past and things like that. And so I ended up meeting my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife of 11 years. I got married that same year. So basically, I dropped out of college. I basically kind of told my dad, "Hey, Dad, I'm done with exams. You can come get me." I packed all my stuff, and I never went back. I got with my wife that summer. We got married that December, and she was pregnant in March. And so I had to get a job. I had to go to work. I couldn't go back to college anyway. And my dad was terribly upset with me. I was living with my dad at the time. My mom moved to Minnesota years prior. And me and my sisters were living with my dad at the time. And he raised me throughout high school. And he sent me off to college and things like that. So I got with my wife, got married in December. She was pregnant in March. Lo and behold, I had to get a job. So I was very upset with myself, I guess I could say. This was not the route that I had planned out for my life. I expected to make the most amount of money possible. I wanted to get rich. I wanted to do things differently, but things didn't pan out that way. But you see, God has a specific plan on your life. He has a divine purpose for your life. And I didn't know that. I just expected things to go the way that I planned out because I wanted to be rich. I wanted to make the most amount of money possible. That was the reason why I went to school for chemical engineering. Didn't work out that way. But I went to work. I got a job in a warehouse, and we had a little tiny 1-bedroom apartment. But we knew we were about to expand and my daughter was coming. So we ended up renting a small house, and my daughter was born, and life just happened from there. And I guess I could give you guys more details about this part of my life vlog in the future video. But that's just more about me. I know I just get on here and talk about random topics, but I want people to get to know me for me, not just for things I talk about. My channel will be different. You're going to get God. You're going to get economic news. You can get my life story or various stories from my life. My testimony, which you guys just received on how Jesus saved me. He came in, cleaned me up. I was actually drinking in college and partying a lot and chasing girls, but God had a different plan for me. And regardless of what anybody else says or believes or thinks about God, like, I know who He is for myself. He came and met me in my dorm room. I wasn't in a church. I wasn't praying. I wasn't talking to anybody. He came to me directly and made me realize how important that I was to Him and that He loved me that much. And it's more to that story. It's more behind that happened the years prior that I guess I can get into in the future. But I don't want to keep this video running too long. But thank you guys for watching, and God bless.